quite special. She has a great capability to learn.
It was so inspirational for the other women on the team who were mostly debutantes.
She's quite clever, like both in daily life and in Kendo.
Sophie is an absolute monster at that event.
Pleasure to work with a person like this.
What really drew me about Japan and those kind of martial arts is that there was a certain amount of very clear discipline behind it. So first I went to try out Iaido because I thought it'd be pretty cool to carry a sword, right? Unfortunately at the time I was about 15 and I had gone to a club here in Dublin thinking, oh, there's no chance there'll be a club like for this in Dublin. It's just, Ireland's just too small of a country, but so I was so surprised when I first saw it. So I went to go try out just for a little session, see what they were doing. I thought it was really, really cool, but yeah, unfortunately the instructor then said, you know, you're a little bit too young. There's a lot of themes in here that it's probably better for someone, you know, a little bit older or just over the age of 18 so that they can deal with it properly. But go try out Kendo.
In Kendo, there's a really interesting Japanese expression called koken chiai. Loosely translates to crossing swords and knowing each other.
We usually describe it as Japanese fencing. It's not really like fencing at all, though. It's a two-handed wooden sword that you hit people with.
We're always trying to look for our opponent's weaknesses while kind of hiding ours. We're trying to make and initiate some movement to see if our opponent reacts to it. We're trying to strike faster than them or draw out some mistakes so we have an opportunity to strike.
And you continually practice in order to be able to hit those locations stronger, sharper, kind of synchronicity with the rest of your body, which is something called kiken taichi, which is like your body, the spirit, and the sword all being one.
Kendo just teaches you to honestly challenge yourself and make a sacrifice. There's this concept that in order to succeed, you have to lose the fear of failure.
I think when you do that with someone for a couple of years' time, you really, really get to know them in a very different way. You really become good friends in a really way because you're always challenging each other. And that to me is what Kendo is, apart from all the swords and everything else. That's really nice.
Sophie joined as a teenager. She just started, you know, coming to beginner classes on Saturdays, I remember. And I was actually leading those classes back then. They were a mix of kind of very general beginner / intermediate advanced classes, but definitely with a focus on more of the basics.
I fell in love with Kendo itself. I was just so interested in the movements, and it was also very, very active.
I could kind of tell as well from the beginning that like she had a real kind of fighter's instinct. She had this really good timing, even though she was like quite a beginner and lacked a lot of experience. She was really, really, really able to catch people out with this odd timing between her attacks.
It was an interesting community to have entered into, being the only girl and being one of the only people under the age of 18 as well. How did I actually stay there? How did I actually stick to it? That did end up being very much the community. Even if they were, the majority of them being men over the age of 18, a lot of the times even older, they were super welcoming.
When you start to wear armor in Kendo, we don't have any segregation during practice. Everybody practices together. So you might have to practice with somebody who's a much higher grade, who's physically bigger or taller than you, stronger. They might be much more experienced or much more aggressive, and like, you have to compete with them. Doesn't matter, you have to go and you have to try your best.
If a female competitor notices you're trying to treat her differently because you're a man and you expect, you know, maybe she doesn't want to get hurt, she will let you know. Martial arts build confidence, and also they build confidence to state what you want. Once you put on the mask and once you hold your sword, everything else is aside.
It shows how the sport is really for everyone. Like everyone can do it, all ages, all genders. It's really all about the mindset that you bring into it.
They were just all super encouraging in terms of giving me feedback, and they were like, there are so many guys in the club that I can talk about that have been really, really formative, particularly in my early years, about learning the sport and about practicing the sport. Are very welcoming in that sense, all really willing to teach and to share.
One of the great things about Kendo is that it puts you in that situation and it requires you to be brave against a really tough opponent. And if you can overcome that, then I think that will stand to you, not just, you know, going forward in your martial arts training, but also in life in general. It will give you just a bit more confidence when you come up against some adversity in your life. You'll have maybe just a little bit more confidence and a bit more ability to stand on your own 2 feet. And I think that's probably one of the best things about Kendo.
Really, anybody can join, whether you're old, you're young, you're male, you're female.
As we often interact with women, you know, and we fight, and there's pain and there's bruises, and then we finish and we say thank you, and then we move on. And there's no thinking, oh, I just beat up a girl, or, you know, anything like that. We just treat each other equally.
In training, you're training all together. When you're sparring, you're sparring all together. But even in Kendo, which I think is great, is there's loads of competitions where it's actually mixed men and women's competitions.
This year at the European Championship, we had our first full women's team, and it was really special. It was a historic moment for Irish Kendo. And we had 5 women representing Ireland, including Sophie. She was acting as their captain, and it was really amazing to see that.
The biggest achievement for me, that I made it onto the Irish national Kendo team, and that I have the opportunity to compete on an international level.
She's the kind of Kendo player that I like. Some people do Kendo very aggressively. They rely on speed and strength. And some people do Kendo more of a mind game, a chess game.
She was so inspirational for the other women on the team who were mostly debutantes. And not only that, but for the rest of the team, who that year we had some juniors, completely new members. And I think she really motivated and inspired everybody. And I think she set the bar for what Irish women's Kendo can be in the future.
She had a lot of spirit in those fights, and her techniques were just very crisp and very fast, and she just made all the right decisions there.
Hoping that I'm just kind of at the precipice of what is so many more women, and I hope that in the future I actually just have so much more competition to actually get on the team, because that would be amazing.
It's something that I think we should really be focusing on, is to push women's Kendo in Ireland, and to get more kind of visualization of where women could go with Kendo in Ireland, and to get that representation when people come to the dojo and they see Kendo in the media. They see, oh look, there's a women's team and they're doing really, really well.
Originally moved to the Netherlands in 2019 for my studies. I knew that I wanted to go to university there, to study linguistics in Amsterdam, but I was also super happy to go because I knew that the Dutch Kendo community was really, really strong. Everybody's very, very welcoming. I guess maybe because of the size of the Kendo community in Europe. What I was really lucky is that the national team there also said, hey, you're in the Netherlands, like, just come train at our national team trainings.
It's really motivating to have someone with the same goals in life. You know, like sometimes you come home from work or school and it's really difficult to get off the couch and go to training afterwards. But if there's someone else who does the same as you, then it becomes really easy.
Last year, after the pandemic, we made a real collective decision to try to recruit more kids. So we went after, advertising in places where parents are maybe looking for activities for their kids to join. We tried to present Kendo as a fun, friendly activity for everybody.
I just want to say 2 or 3 years, we've got so many more women that are coming and that are just loving it and sticking and staying.
I think in a couple of years' time, those kids, along with a couple of our other juniors who are around 16 to maybe 21 years old, they'll be starting to form the new kind of wave of recruits for the national team. And I really think that if we can continue to encourage young kids, girls and boys,
I think in 10 years' time, we will definitely have a really strong, vibrant women's community. Well, I hope, but I can see it happening.